Welcome back to Odds and Ends Machining. I'm Johnny, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I sandcast from scratch this headstock for my race motorcycle. Quick recap, in the last video we made this. This was a swing arm for the race bike.
It's beautiful.
So now we're moving on to the headstock, but if you want to know how that swing arm was made, just check out that video. There'll be a link in the description. But today we are going to focus on the entire process for the headstock. We'll quickly glance over the design, making the patterns, the casting, and then we're going to take an in-depth look and some close-up shots and review how I think it came out. So before I could get into a detailed design for the headstock, I had to do a rough overall design for the rest of the bike. So I needed to know my steering head angle, my wheelbase, the swing arm length, and a few other key dimensions. So I borrowed quite heavily from the Honda RS125. From there I did a rough design, and then once I was happy, I sort of fine-tuned and specifically designed the headstock. I had an initial plan on how I was going to make the chassis. So there were a couple of choices, but in the first instance, I was going to fabricate it much like the swing arm from individual pieces of sheet metal, folded and then curved, and they were going to be welded together. And the headstock was going to be machined from this large piece of 6061. Now I got so close to making this happen. I even folded up all these test pieces to see could I put a nice uniform curve in a fabricated channel. And the answer was yes, I could do that. But I was having a conversation with one of my friends and I sort of noticed the headstock on the Honda is cast. I mean, the Yamaha, which I looked at quite a bit, was fabricated. And I sort of thought, a lot of bikes from the factory are cast. So the whole CBR 1000, that's cast in sections. In the 80s, they were all cast in sections, the Suzukis. So I thought, why don't I have a look into casting it? And then I found some articles on Yamaha's website, and they went right into the nitty-gritty of material selection. And it just turned out that the material I cast all of my engine components from is the same stuff Yamaha use for their high-end chassis. And then from there, the whole thing just went, okay, we're casting the chassis now. I realized it would be a fairly easy undertaking. To go down this route and actually cast the chassis, there are some pros and some cons. You need to make patterns, and this works in sand, and there's draft and taper angles, and there's so many considerations. And now I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, Justway. So as you'd know, making every component for one of these projects would be just about impossible, as it's so time consuming. So Justway were kind enough to help out and machine the suspension linkage. They made this for me from 6061 T6, and they anodized it for me in this epic purple. So making parts with Justway was as simple as creating a 3D model, uploading it to their website for an instant quote, selecting the tolerance, surface finish, and in this case the anodizing. From there I selected a shipping option and got the parts made and sent straight to my door. So a massive thanks to Justway. Now, if you want to use their services, check out the link in the description and you'll get a discount voucher. Now, back to the video. Before we cast our part, we need one or maybe two things depending on the geometry. So we need a pattern. Now, this is a pattern for my flywheel cover. This is an exact replica of the part, scaled up 1.3%. So what I had to do to ensure this would work is add draft. Now what draft is it is a taper on all of the vertical surfaces. And in this case, it is all about 2 degrees or more. The more taper, the easier this will release from the sand. Now, other than the pattern, if you're making a hollow part with complex geometry, you may need a core. So to make a core, you need to make a core box. Now, a core box just replicates the inside of the part. So essentially, you don't end up with a solid chunk of aluminium. Cool, so we're at my mate David's place. This is his mill. He made it all himself. It's a BT30 spindle, and it's got quite a large X and Y travel. So what we are doing is we're machining the core boxes for the headstock casting. So we're going to do that here, and we'll see how we go. So David's got the Xbox controller, and we're just cutting some references. So if we have to remove this from the mill, we can put it back on with some degree of accuracy. So what are you using to control this thing?
I was using a Pybot CNC controller.
So this is the cabinet. He's wired all of this up himself. It's a really professional job. Looks way better than mine. So he's got this neat just push button pneumatic tool changer. So what he's going to do now is probe the corner. I need to get probing on my machine.
Something like a bamboo printer, like this, like a it connects into the front here.
Oh yeah.
So you keep getting.
From there, I went out and bought a brand new 3D printer with proceeds from the Hustler V200 engine sales. So I was able to print these patterns in one go. So from there, all I had to do was sand them, bog them, paint them, and then glue them onto a match plate. From there, I was ready to go to the foundry, and we were going to see if this was going to work. Once I got to the foundry, we tried out the core box. Scotty looked at it, said it was a bit rough, but he said, you know what? We'll give it a go anyway, and we'll see if we can get the core to release from the core box. Now, we mentioned that draft earlier. So in my case, I had enough draft, but the surface finish on the walls of the core box was just too rubbish. The chatter from the really deep stick out when machining it caused some friction, so we couldn't get the sand out. So it was back to the drawing board. I had to go home, resand the whole thing, and I spent quite a few hours doing all that, as the next time I went to the foundry, I wanted to come away with a finished headstock casting, and that is just what we did. See what we get. It's either going to be real good or I don't know.
I make no commitments. I'm confident that it's run.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
There's metal in there. Oh, bloody good-ish for now.
Yeah. Looks the part. Sure does.
So here it is. The part came out of the sand flawless. So let's take a closer look and check out some of the features. So as you can see, it's hollow. This has a uniform, it's about 4.5mm wall thickness. It only weighs, I think it's 2.2 kilos. So it's nice and thin, nice and light. But it also has thickness added where it needs it. So there's ribs inside of the part. There's extra meat behind where these holes go. So this is for the oil cooler mount. There's another Little boss here for the fuel tank front mount. There's a lot of meat behind there. There's a bit of extra meat in here for the tapered cylindrical roller bearings for the steering head. And then I've got these funny little ears on here. Now you're probably wondering what those are for. Those are for fixturing this on the mill, like so, with the steering head perpendicular, so I can bore for the bearings. It's just for setup really. These will be chopped off at the end. But if you take a close look, the surface finish was pretty good. I'm really happy with that. And you can see here, I've just taken a flappy disc on the grinder to the part line. So this is where the two tapers meet up, where the part is essentially a peak. This was so I could get it to release from the sand. That's a wrap. So if you enjoyed that and you watched this far, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you want to see the next video, which in this case will cover the machining of this part on the CNC mill. And we're also going to get the plates cast for the frame. So I've already designed these, printed them. I just have to do some finishing, and these should be done by the end of the next video.